Today is February 24th. It's approximately 4:40 p.m. Attendees are Commissioners McNaughton, Chalmers, Cassidy. Representing the Law Department is Philip Banaszak. Representing Human Resources, Sandy Coleman, Peachy Jones, Rebecca Campbell. Slated on the agenda to be in attendance representing the Police Department, not yet here, are Commander Betuello and Lieutenant Decker. And to call the meeting to order, Commissioners, have we had an opportunity to read the minutes?
Yes, I have, and I move to approve the minutes of our last meeting.
Second.
Passed and carried. Item 3, report of the appointments to the competitive, non-competitive, exempt, and labor class. Civil Service Office reported on the following permanent competitive class appointments. All to the Albany Public Library. Nathan Hearn, Library Clerk, effective 12/1/2020. Wisdom Johnson, Library Assistant, effective 12/2/2020. Cecilia Holodak, Library Clerk, effective 12/3/2020. Michelle Newkirk, Library Clerk, effective 12/3/2020. Civil Service Office reported on the following provisional competitive class appointments. John Dortch, Construction Manager, Albany Housing Authority, effective 8/11/2020. Kristen Blackwell Clark, Office Manager, Albany School District, effective 1/11/2021. Michelle Andre, Auditor, in the Office of Audit and Control, effective 2/22/2021. Civil Service Office reported on the following provisional promotion competitive class appointments. Louis Roldan, Senior Planner in the Office of Planning, effective 2/15/2021. Civil Service Office reported on the following non-competitive class appointments. Hilliard Piper, Building Maintenance Worker, Albany School District, 12/21/20. Ricardo Berciaga, Laborer 2, DGS, effective 2/4/2021. Kavoy Baxter, Sanitation Worker, DGS, effective 2/11/2021. Irving Slaughter, Laborer 1, DGS, effective 2/11/2021. Civil Service Office reported on the following labor class appointments to the Albany School District. Brian Brooks, Cleaner, effective 12/21/2020. Assad Lee, Custodial Worker, Albany School District, effective 1/4/2021. Item 4, Firefighter non-selection. For no EMT certification, Jacob Sheridan. Item 5, Police Officer Appeals. At this time, the Commissioners, Sandy Coleman, Mr. Banaszak, and Peachy Jones will repair to executive session, please.
We do need to put on the record what we're going into executive session about.
That's fair. To discuss the police officer appeals.
Do we need Commander Betuello?
It would be helpful, but he does not appear to be.
He's here.
He's here.
Join the meeting. Yes, he's here.
Okay. Then yes, Commander Betuello will be invited to attend.
And all appellants are in attendance, just so the commission knows.
Okay, they will not be in the executive session.
Okay.
You're going to manage that breakout room then, Sandy?
Yep.
Thank you.
Mr. Dolan, the commission would like you to join the executive session, so you should have been, oh, he already has.
Everybody back?
Yes, all the commissioners are back as well as council. Yep, everyone's back in the live meeting. The commissioners, I've unmuted all of you. So we muted everybody except for the commission.
Okay, thanks.
Okay, so moving forward, agenda item 5, police officer appeals. With regards to candidate JD, I make the motion that we uphold his appeal and make offer to arrange for a secondary exam.
Second.
I agree.
Okay, passed and carried. Sandy, you'll take care of that communication. We'd like that to take place through Human Resources, okay?
Yes.
Thank you. With regards to candidate NH, I would make the motion that we deny the appeal.
Second.
I agree.
Passed and carried. With regards to candidate DH, I would make the motion that we deny the appeal.
I second.
Yes.
Passed and carried. With regards to candidate JS, I would make the motion that we deny the appeal.
Second.
Yeah.
Passed and carried. On to agenda item 7, amendment of job specifications, confidential legal secretary. Sandy?
Yes. So this is a revision due to the job description being in an old format and not having been updated for many years. Also, we are in the process of getting employees into proper classifications for their civil service titles. This title is in the exempt class, which is in our rules. So in order to move 2 people from a confidential secretary, which is currently competitive provisional, we wanted to move them into this position, which would make them exempt. However, we wanted to update the job description prior to making those moves.
That's fine. I would
I
agree.
move to accept.
Done.
I move to accept the job specifications for confidential legal secretary.
Seconded. Passed and carried. General Counsel.
This is, we currently have the job specifications for general counsel for the Albany Housing Authority and general counsel for Albany Parking Authority that are parenthetical for each agency. The job descriptions do not differ. So we have merged the 2 job descriptions so that we only have one general counsel job description, and we are planning to proceed with requesting from New York State Civil Service Commission that this position be taken out of the competitive class and put into the exempt class.
I move to accept.
Seconded. Passed and carried. Next, Sandy.
The next one on the list is the golf course superintendent. This position has been filled by the same incumbent since 1998. That person is retiring, so it's time for us to revise the job description. So it's been updated to who the position reports to, as well as updating the typical work activities, which were received by the Commissioner of General Services, who oversees this position, as well as updating minimum qualifications and the requirements of having a driver's license and a pesticide license for the duration of their employment.
Sandy, can you just summarize the minimum qualifications from what it was previously to what it is now?
Okay, so prior it asked for a 2-year degree in golf course maintenance and 2 years experience in maintenance of golf course in a supervisory capacity, or 4 years of experience in golf course maintenance in a supervisory capacity. So we have reworded it to say an associate's degree rather than just a 2-year college degree, and changed golf course maintenance degree to golf course management. And we've added that a high school diploma is required with the 4 years of experience. And then we've added the without a high school diploma, the 6 years of experience. And then we've also provided that any completion of a program in a 1-year program in turf management, turf science, or agronomy from an accredited college or university can be substituted for 1 year of experience. So should they have additional course credits in those fields, they can receive substitution for experience.
Okay, well, thank you. Thank you for that clarification.
You're welcome.
I move to accept this job specification.
Seconded.
Yes.
Commissioner Cassidy, can you run the meeting for a couple of minutes? I have to pop out. Can we ask Commander Bechuelo to stick around to the end of the meeting? And I'll be back as soon as I can. I've got a pressing 10-minute engagement, please.
Yeah, the only thing I would say is I'm going off my phone, so I don't have the agenda in front of me. So if Linda could run it, that would be.
That's fine. Linda, I'm sorry.
Okay, yep.
Did I say Cassidy? I'm sorry. Thank you.
The next job specification is Program Aid. And Sandy, can you walk us through that?
Yes, so the changes to the Program Aid job specification are, again, we had 3 job descriptions for Program Aid, all 3 of them being parenthetical. So this one that we have in the packet was parenthetical to special events. The other ones were volunteer coordinator and volunteer services. So we have merged all 3 job descriptions into one, and it's just going to be Program Aid with no parenthetical on the title. This position is in the Office of Special Events and Cultural Affairs.
Okay, I move that we accept this job specification.
Yes.
Okay, and then finally under this agenda item is water plant maintenance mechanic.
Yeah, the Commissioner of Water and Water Supply, Joe Coffey, had submitted changes to the job description. Most of it is just making the description and the distinguishing features more specific to equipment and the work that they are required to perform, as well as adding titles, since some restructuring at the department of who this position reports to, and a few changes in the typical work activities as far as being more specific. The biggest change were in the knowledge, skills, and ability, which Commissioner Coffey requested that be more specific as far as how many pounds or ability to lift 50 pounds, and then the description of where this position is required to work, so that they're required to work in vaults, rooftops, small spaces, wet environments, in around chemical equipment, that they're able to climb stairs, ladders, and in any weather conditions.
Okay, thank you for that clarification. I move to accept this job specification.
Yes.
Okay, moved and approved. Is there any old business?
None for me.
Tom, are you back on? Okay, new business, abolishment of titles not in use.
So the HR Civil Service Office has been going through all the job descriptions that we have on file and that are currently active. And we have come up with a list that was provided in the agenda packet of titles that we would like to abolish at this time. Should we receive request to classify positions that fall under these, we would then ask the commission to adopt them at that time. But most of these positions are single position titles that were used, to be in a specific office or department, or they're just outdated titles that are no longer used across our civil service agencies.
So Sandy, the listing of titles that we received in our packet, are those titles that are to be abolished?
Yes.
Okay.
And we have confirmed that nobody is in those titles in any of our agencies.
And what is the direction for the commission?
To make a blanket motion to abolish these titles.
Okay. Commissioner Cassidy, did you have a chance to look at those titles?
Yeah, I have no problem with it.
Okay, so I move that we abolish those titles that were provided to us by the Human Resource Department.
Yes, I vote yes.
Okay, all right. Motion has been accepted and agreed upon. So we will, I guess we adjourn the meeting.
We have another item for new business that was sent to the commission today.
Oh, right.
Because it was received after the agenda was sent out yesterday. So we have additional non-selections to be made for the position of police officer.
And that is what Commissioner McNaughton wanted to address.
I don't know if we want to just wait for Tom to come back for that.
No, just give him a minute.
Okay.
I would ask that any of the invite the guests that have been online with us, you are welcome to leave the meeting if you chose to.
I just texted Tom to see how long he's going to be. Sandy, while we're waiting, for Tom, I think he's going to be on in a minute, but can you give Linda and I a little background on this just, while we're waiting? So, at least we're using some of the time efficiently. If Linda's all right with that.
Yep. So the memo that was sent to the commission today was just an additional memo regarding the police hiring process with additional candidates that we need the commission to formally non-select so that they can be sent their letters with their appeal opportunity provided.
I am back.
Great. Hey, Tom.
Hey.
We're just on the new non-selects.
Okay.
So under the new business, the additional memo that I sent out to the commission today that was added to the agenda after the meeting or after the agenda was sent out yesterday. Right. That's what we're on. So we just need the commission to formally non-select those candidates so that we can send letters letting them know that they have the opportunity to appeal at this time.
So just a quick question. I don't know what the typical process is, but why did these come in much later than the other ones?
So from my understanding, Commander Bacciuello sends an updated memo as the candidates are disqualified or are considered non-selected. So
it's like a rolling base.
Yeah, so the police department, I believe, and he can correct me if I'm wrong at any point, the police department processes the candidates from the top of the list down, and as they are non-selected for any reason, they're sent over to us as they are non-selected.
But I think that's still, that didn't answer that question. Do we know what the timing was? Were these people non-selected like 2 days ago or 6 weeks ago?
Commander, because our office received the memo last evening, so.
I believe we met with the chief last week, Commissioner.
I'm sorry?
I think we met with the chief last on this this final round last week.
So as I'm looking at these non-selects, there's some compelling reasons that for their non-select, reasons that should have been apparent, frankly, well before a week before the swearing in date. My concern is not that it will impact my vote, but my concern is that this type of procedure, to have it come in the night before the civil service meeting, 2 days before what is tentatively scheduled for the swearing in ceremony, doesn't seem to be a best practice. It certainly is not a defensible one. Should any of these people have grounds for a successful appeal, be granted such, we don't, there's some serious time constraints. Wouldn't you agree?
Is that for me, sir?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, I would. I mean, even the ruling for tonight, I mean, that we are swearing in this class on Friday, so I can't, I can only do so much with the list that we are provided. I think my office has done, an extreme amount of work in a very short period of time for this hiring cycle. What we found best for us to do is to do it in waves, essentially, because we screened so many candidates since we gave since the canvassing really was Labor Day weekend. And the evolution of the hiring cycle with the physical agility test, to the background investigations, to the formal interview processing, meeting with the chief, making recommendations, offering conditional employment, going through the psychological evaluations, medical evaluations, and so on and so forth. There's just so many candidates to go through. We have a number of vacancies. I think some of the information that you may have been provided is inaccurate. We have a great deal of vacancies that we're trying to fill and ensuring that we do so. But we also can't rush that process, obviously, which is why it takes so long. There's a lot of background work that needs to be done. So, I mean, I am always open to suggestions if the commission has any recommendations on to do it differently for the next hiring cycle. But to do it in waves as opposed to sending over what could very well be 5, 6, 8, 7 at a time, it would just get a lot would get lost in translation, in my personal opinion. And I don't know how it's been done in the past per se, but I can tell you that we've never hired almost 55 police officers in a 6-month period, at least not since the mid to late 90s. So this has been an enormous task. I think my office performed exceptionally well, but as far as this commission is concerned, clearly I do not want to add any burden or constraints to the process in any way, shape, or form. So I think this was a very new situation for us to be in, not a situation that I can tell you the police department wants to be in moving forward. We want our vacancies to be up to where we only have to hire 5 or 6 at a time, but we find ourselves in that situation now, unfortunately, where we have double-digit vacancies. So once again, if the commission, has any suggestions on how we could better proceed moving forward than just doing it in cycles, which I thought was the best way to handle it at that point. It seemed to work out fine the last hiring cycle that we just went through back in the winter of last year into the June swearing in date of this past academy class. As far as, the evening of, to be perfectly honest with you, I wasn't looking at this notification being part of tonight's meeting. So I can't attest to that. Ms. Jones will have to answer to that, but I'm just trying to update her office the best information I have and the time availability that I have to provide it to her. We also didn't have the last hiring offers of employment firm until last night. So, once I get that information, I think it'd be best, instead of sending multiple notifications over, to just send it in one notification. So, but again, I'm open to suggestions, sir, to whatever you think is best moving forward.
So I have a process question. So swearing in is Friday.
Yes, sir.
So these people would still have to, so we would officially non-select them tonight. And then when would we hear their appeal? Because what happens if, candidate XYZ comes in and they blow the doors off and we're like, we want their appeal, but everybody's already sworn in. How do we logistically, kind of I guess it's more of a question for you, Commander, or a question for Sandy and Peachy, kind of how does that play out if Friday comes and goes and we haven't heard the appeal and then we hear it later on? Is there a fairness question for these folks because because somebody got on the list before, somebody got their appeal heard earlier than they did, so they get on, but this person doesn't. So logistically, how does this work?
For this class, Commissioner Cassidy?
Yeah.
It doesn't. I mean, there's no way, shape, or form we can hire anybody at this point in time. Given we're 2 days away from swearing in a class and they're starting Monday morning. I don't know. I can't answer that question, to be honest with you. I don't know what's been done in the past. I'm sure this.
But you see what my question is, right? So if candidate XYZ has an appeal, but basically they just, to no fault of their own being a relative term, but let's just use that, right? No fault of their own, their appeal gets heard later than other candidates because their memo got sent over later. And listen, 50 candidates, I'm not downplaying the amount of work you and your office had to do. Commend you guys for the work that you've done on it. Seriously, Herculean task. So, and we appreciate that. But I'm just thinking through, if you're a candidate, if you're one of these candidates and you just happen to be in the last batch is there a fairness question that we have to think through?
Right. Yeah. I mean, is it my understanding? I mean, correct me if I'm wrong. Does this commission typically only meet once a month, or no?
Yes.
Yeah, it's usually last ones they've ever.
Right. And I know we've had a couple
on rare occasions we meet for exigent circumstances similar to the last candidate that we worked through.
Understand, sir. So yeah, so that was my understanding as well, that these past couple meetings that we've had, these emergency meetings, were just that. They were unique to a specific case that needed to be met on. So once again, I mean, even if that memo wasn't sent last night, it would make no difference typically, right? If I sent that memo over 2 weeks ago, we're still hiring Friday. So I can't answer your question honestly, Commissioner Cassidy, because it wouldn't matter, because they were offered for disqualification. Even if I had that information at my disposal and the time to give it over to Ms. Jones' office 2 weeks ago, this meeting still was scheduled for the 24th of February, and we are swearing in our officers on the 26th. So I got to imagine this has happened in the past, right? I mean, I don't know if that just gets pushed to the next cycle. I don't know.
So Commander, I think I agree with Commissioner Cassidy, and I think our concerns are similar. Due to the timeliness, I think there's an opportunity for candidates to be disenfranchised and not allowed their appropriate due process. I'm not saying that these candidates, given their place on the test and whatever you may have found in background and whether it's polygraph or background or whatever it might have been, let's presume for a moment these are things that popped up before an offer for employment, which then it would involve the polygraph. These candidates are then disenfranchised from their appeal opportunity because the list is no more. The class has been filled. You have hired off that. And that is a real concern. At our core, our commission's responsibility is to promote a transparent and fair process for all. And when and if one single individual becomes disenfranchised by what, I'm not an attorney, Peachy, I'm sure this would be a term you would use, arbitrary and capricious scheduling, we can't have a process fit a calendar, I guess is the way best to boil it down.
I understand completely, Commissioner, where you're coming from, and I agree with you 100%. What you're asking of me is out of my control. I have no way of, I can't say to you in advance if we start the hiring cycle again for this purpose of our conversation was in September, right? Early September is when we started this specific hiring cycle. There's no way, shape, or form I can give you all my disqualifications. As I looked at exhausted this list, which again it was more than 50. We went through hundreds of people. It was whittled down after the agility testing. So there's no way I can give you disqualifications months in advance. That's an impossibility. Nobody can do that. So I just think that we find ourselves probably in new territory because once again, we've never, in my time in my career here, and again, I look back in our historical records, mid to late 90s, we had back-to-back classes of double digits. That was the last time in the history of this department. So we find ourselves kind of in new territory, like I said. Maybe going back to last year was a bad example because this test was still valid, right? We canvassed this test back in late August, for the second round of hiring. You're right. We do find ourselves at the very end of this list and a new exam is on the horizon. So I perfectly understand the commission's concern. I share that concern. Again, I'm open to advice, suggestions, whatever everyone thinks could be a better way of handling it. I think just being, realistic here, there's just no way for me to project and give that information, lawfully, to be honest with you, in advance, months in advance to the end of what our projected hiring cycle may even be. We were projected to hire before this even, but, COVID, a lot of other factors, went into starting the academy class on March 1st.
Certainly understand, notwithstanding COVID, there are a tremendous amount of issues that put downward pressure on you, your office, the department as a whole. I fully understand that. But in real time, today we upheld an appeal from a candidate. What is your resolution should he find relief and be found to be a candidate? What happens? Because we're talking like 10 days at the best case scenario, right?
Correct, sir. Yeah, I mean, again, I would have to defer to Ms. Jones. I'm not sure what the civil service law provides, because we are expecting a new list to be made eligible and available to us, hopefully by the end of the summer would be my projection. I don't know what goes into that. I mean, we're not going to be hiring again until this academy class is graduated and is complete. So we, at the earliest we would even be able to hire again would be October. And if we're looking off a new list at that point, to your point, Commissioner, you're absolutely correct. I mean, I'm asking you the same question, which is kind of what I wanted to get to tonight.
So I don't want to be right in the office and wrong in the field. So to that end, Commander, having done a little research today, I found that it is in our authority to request that your swearing in be delayed for an appropriate amount of time to consider the candidate's appeal, which we have done, and let that appeal process pay out. And I have consulted with administrative officials, and we think that that is the course of action that best serves not only this singular candidate, but the city of Albany.
Sir, if I may, I would respectfully request that you do not consider that as an option, because if we push back our training calendar, we simply will not be able to put an academy class on anytime soon. We are constrained in the city of Albany due to a number of reasons, which I don't know if I can go into in a public format. But with our training curriculum and where we have to operate outside of the city of Albany, due to the curriculum itself, specifically practical training, that we are dependent on other agencies to give us their facilities for use. If we push this back even one day or 1 week, we can't put this academy class together. So if we were to push this back, let's just say we had to push it back 6 months at this point, if that was the only other option, the staffing levels in this police department would make our operations suffer beyond repair. And I'm not trying to paint, doom and gloom picture for you. I'm being completely honest with you.
I believe you, sir. I do. I believe you. And I sympathize. But, just a few weeks ago, you had a candidate who you were advocating for. And, we moved heaven and earth to take care of this, to make sure that everything was done. We afforded her an appropriate appeal process. And then the consequential second and ultimately third issue took place in her benefit, and she made the list when we were happy for her. But the fact is, Commander, this is not just a today issue. We seem to have timeliness issues with regards to communication between the department and civil service, the Civil Service Commission, and HR. And this, we can't, our exposure to a candidate that he would have incredible legal standing. And I think it impugns the process, sir. I don't know. I'm more than willing, and I think the commission is more than willing to hear any other fruitful solutions to this. This isn't something that we offer up lightly, as I'm sure you can imagine.
I understand, sir. I don't know I know that there was, again, I'll defer to Ms. Jones on this, but I know there have been instances in the past when you have a list that isn't expired yet anyways. I mean, this list is still valid. It's just that we've exhausted what we've been provided now for this last canvassing round, all the way down to the final grade. However, could we recanvass this list again? Of course. The problem, I think, perceived right now is that we have a new test being given. I don't know what the legality issues are there if we were to still honor, the requests of some of these folks that have been appealing towards the end of this hiring cycle and may be eligible for further consideration to hire. Can we hire off that list and combine it with the new list once we're ready to hire again? I mean, I know it's been done in the past. We have, again, historical references. There's folks still here that are employed that were hired off different lists and at different times, but went to the same academy. And I would I would absolutely, be thrilled if that would be the case, because it makes no difference to us, because a candidate is a candidate. So I would have to defer to Ms. Jones and this commission to see if that's even a plausible solution, because to me, honestly, sir, it really is the only solution to have at this point. To me, in the interest of fairness, I agree with you, but to delay an academy class at this point in this juncture would be devastating. And again, I'm not just saying that for dramatic effect. Our training curriculum and our training schedule is now locked in. If we were to defer, it throws everything completely out of whack. And if we were to wait even months at this point, I'm losing folks at a retirement rate that we've never seen before, ever, and that's across the nation right now. So I would actually ask if that's a consideration, if we can kind of merge this list before it expires, and then make the new test, eligible list, make that valid and confirmed, and then engage that cycle with that test, and then have the folks that we could hire off this be part of that next class. I mean, is that an option?
Commander, I have a quick question for you, real quick. So talk to me like I'm an idiot here, just because I don't know this whole, exactly how the process works from a training academy standpoint. But, if we were, I'm making it up, we delay it, whatever, a week, 2 weeks, whatever. Why does, because I get the, you rely on other law enforcement agencies as part of it. So I understand that makes sense. If you could shed a little light on that as to what that exactly entails, that'd be helpful just for our own edification. But, just I'm thinking of it, if I'm going to look at this through a practical lens, without knowing anything, the logistics behind it. If it gets to, my knee-jerk reaction is, it gets delayed without knowing all the details and what goes into it, gets delayed a week. I'm making it up. Gets delayed a week. To me, the world doesn't end, but I also don't know the logistics behind it. But what exactly, to the extent that you can explain to us, how does delaying a week, if this got delayed a year, I get it. That's not what we're talking about. This got delayed a week, 2 weeks, whatever it was, but some not overly stretched out period of time. Why does the world get turned upside down?
Absolutely, Commissioner. So, to give you one example, and this is one of many factors, to be perfectly straight with you, our firearms training, which is a necessary component and, mandated by DCJS for these individuals to not only get certified, but to graduate our academy. We are competing against multiple agencies to use the range that we utilize. We do not have any flexibility with it. We had to book that months in advance. In fact, my memory serves me correct, we did that before Thanksgiving. And we kind of gave ourselves a buffer to aim for the March 1st start date. That this was our tail end. We had previously went, I think, February 9th, if that's a Monday, if that serves me correct. That was our initial start date. And we got pushed back a week, another week, and another week. We had COVID exposures with our training unit. We had COVID exposures across the department. We had other things that kind of held that process up, not to mention just the sheer, amount of work that goes into hiring these folks. That pushed it back to March 1st, which was our stopgap. That was it. That was our deadline. And that's where we are. So to push it back just that 1 week, and again, I understand in layman's terms how that doesn't seem, it seems very small and insignificant. That means we would not be able to complete that training. That means that we would have to reschedule it again, probably at this point, probably into 2022 is what we're looking at. Because in fact, I'm not even planning on starting an academy class at the earliest till December of this year. We're probably into the early part of 2022 at this point in all reality. So we'd be looking at 2022 just for firearms training, and that's just one aspect. The internal stuff, the academic portion, we are self-contained, but there's other practical portions of the training that are necessary and that need to have that component in place on this calendar, on this schedule that we've already had established. That would not make that possible. Again, even 1 week would not make it possible.
So Commander, if I may, I do have some, albeit limited and probably now antiquated, experience in that type of scheduling stuff with regards to academies. And I sympathize with you. There's just been no resolution offered on how we affect this process that support the individual candidates that find themselves in an appeal position. It's not their fault that they ended up down the lane, approaching the end of the test life, butting up against a an arbitrary swearing in date. I understand that you lock in, you live on a 12-month schedule. You're planning stuff for next December. I get it. But the individuals have particular rights, not dissimilar from the people you arrest. And we know that the calendar is not, it moves in their favor too.
Certainly, sir. I mean, but once again, I have no control over the civil service list. I have no control over this commission. So, I mean, I asked Ms. Jones, can we hire off this list moving forward and make them part of that next academy class while still cycling through the new list, once we exhaust that list? Like, if these folks go through the appeal process, right, and they become eligible candidates once again, can we still hire them off this list while it's still valid before it's terminated and before the new list becomes eligible? I mean, I can't answer that question.
In that correspondence, you indicated that the list was expired.
No, I said the list was exhausted on behalf of the police department as it's been given to us.
Okay.
Yeah, that's not what I said.
Commissioners, input, thoughts?
Well, I don't know, I'm torn. I mean, a little bit of a rock and a hard place here. I don't want to, I really, I feel, feel bad might not be the right way to describe it, but I have concerns about these folks that, just, call it dumb luck or bad luck, end up kind of down ballot, so to speak. And, they didn't get their appeal heard quick enough, and here we are, and it's going to run out of time. I mean, I don't know. I just don't see from a fairness standpoint how that's okay. But at the end of the day, we have to live in reality and we have to be practical here. And if at the end of the day, you can't get a firing range until December, that seems to logistically complicate things, especially at the rate, as the commander said, they're losing police officers to retirement, et cetera. So I think this is tough. I'm not really sure.
I mean, sir, again, if I may, I mean, I'm with everybody on this call right now to preserve people's rights, especially for due process in this.
Of course. I'm not saying you're not. I'm just, I know it's a little bit out of your hands. I'm not saying it's your fault or the police department's fault. It's just here we are though. We're here, and these people got stuck at the end of the list. I mean, somebody's got to be at the end of the list. It is what it is, but.
Peachy, do you want to chime in here? Because I've asked that question twice now. I mean, I don't have the answer to that question. I don't know. Can we hire off this list?
If I may, Commander Peachy, I did cut you off here, but before that, I would be willing to hold that motion I made. I didn't make an official motion, but I certainly indicated what I was going to do. I would hold that in abeyance, and I would make the request that the police department, whether it's Commander Pacello or whoever else might hold sway over this administrative process, the hiring process. I'd like to see a communication between them, civil service, and administrative services. And let's try to find a way to figure out, A, what's wrong with this particular episode that has landed us here. And that be a jumping off point for further discussions with regards to how we look at this entire process.
Listen, Tom, I think that's a good idea. I'm a big believer. You guys have heard me say this in other situations. Like, I'm not a big fan of refueling the plane in the air. We're kind of, we're going down a path, but we got to figure out how we're going to deal with this in the future. And again, I don't think maybe, based on what the commander said, a class of this size is unique, but I feel for these folks that have a pending appeal and could potentially get in. Tough, you're a little late to the dance, so you're not going to be able to get in this one. But the guy that got heard a month ago or 3 weeks ago or whatever, was able to get their appeal heard and get in, I feel for them. I really do. And yeah, you can hire them off the list, but you're not going to hire them now, right? And maybe, so, getting, even if they could get hired off the list later on, I'm talking about now. So here we are. It is what it is at this point, it seems, but we gotta, if there is anything to be done in the future to try and avoid this, let's try and do it. I don't know if there is, but let's at least kick it around and talk about it.
Actually, I would go so far as to request that conversation take place tomorrow morning and some sort of communication come from the collaboration so we have a better idea. I'm really disturbed by this. I think it's a disservice. Please, Commander, I'm not pointing a finger at you. I think this is a culmination of maybe years of practices that have gotten us here. But you're holding a potato now, unfortunately, as we all are. I want to get something straight before we move forward to Friday. And, I've gotten some feedback that was, indicating a support of a pushback to that date. I don't know where that came from, but nevertheless, I think it's worthy of a conversation between the three stakeholders. And in my mind's eye, it's civil service, it's administrative services, and it's the PD. And I think we look to have a quick call tomorrow, if that's okay with the commissioners, and come to some conclusion short term, and then open the door for a long term.
Sir, if I may, nobody's answering my question though. Can we hire off this list still? Because if we can, then I think that the problem is resolved.
Peachy, do you know if we can hire off this list? Peachy?
Yeah, sorry, I had to unmute myself. So I've never personally done that, but Sandy's told me that we can run two lists concurrently. I guess the issue would be that we would then recanvass from the top, right? So the people who are towards the bottom of this list would remain towards the bottom of the new list. So it's not quite the same chance at hiring, but they could be added to the prior list. Sandy, if you want to add anything that I misstated, go right ahead.
No, I think exactly what we discussed is we have run a concurrent list in the past. When we did that in the past, however, APD was in the middle of processing a class. It wasn't in regards to appeals being, or non-selections and appeals being heard by the commission. So we did, as we established a new list, we extended the old list so that processing could continue from that list that we already had in existence. So like I said, that wasn't in regards to people being non-selected and appeals being heard. That we might need to get some clarification on from state civil service or civil service counsel at the state. And I can request that information from state civil service if the commission would like that. I think we do need some clarification because otherwise we may run into this again, because like Commander Bachelot said, this is an ongoing process, and as he sends the candidates over, that's as he's disqualifying them or non-selecting them. So
Commissioner, I think we just, if I may, we just solved the problem right there. That was what I was trying to, that was the question I was posing. There's nothing saying in my eyes, because I think the civil service list can be good for valid for 4 years, correct?
Correct. Civil service list can
maximum
be
of 4, right?
Yeah, minimum 1, maximum of 4.
So I just don't. This may be unique, Sandy, to your point. You have the experience here, with this discussion, so I'll defer to you. But, I still don't think it affects the fairness aspect, commissioners, as we discussed here tonight, to these candidates, because I can tell you we're going to be in a hiring cycle processing for years to come. This isn't a situation where, well, you didn't get in this class, so sorry, you may get in the next academy class, which may not happen for another year or two, or you may just be off of this list and, a new list might be formed. I have every intention, as long as the mayor of the city allows us to put together another academy class back to back. I just, in my eyes, the earliest we could do that would be October, right? Because, this academy class won't be scheduled for graduation until the end of September. And I just been looking at this new test coming up, having to work off a new eligibility list. But again, if the state allows us to keep this list valid, which will keep these candidates that have these appeals coming up, including tonight, active and valid, then I don't understand, really what the issue is here. If we just keep those folks, keep their candidacy alive until the list is officially expired, which I have no power to do that. I just submit my findings to Ms. Jones's office and say that we've exhausted the list that we have to date. But in a perfect world, if for some reason we could only hire 10 people off this list, let's say we didn't have the ability to hire as many as we could, I'd be calling for a third canvassing off this list. It wouldn't be an issue. So if we still have that ability, then I think that we're fine, because we can still process these folks and make them part of the next academy session. And then whenever the law provides us to expire that list and then have the new list come in to basically mold the two together, I'm flexible with that. I think the department is flexible with that. I wouldn't want to jump to conclusions and just say that, well, the only course of action right now is to just postpone everything. There's devastating effects that come to that. I can't express that enough.
So, it's getting late in the day. And I think it's in everybody's best interest to move this along. I would like to see a conversation take place between you and your office, Commander, Civil Service and Administrative Services. I don't say that we have to, that it's rock. Much the same way that date isn't set in stone. To your point, you've moved it 3 times. But I want a conversation to take place with the 3 stakeholders with an eye towards fair and equitable treatment. And I think that should happen sooner rather than later. And ideally, I'd like you to relay this message internally, Commander, with regards to the displeasure of this commission.
I'm texting the chief right now.
The conversation that we're looking for, it may be as soon as tomorrow. With regards to mandating the swearing in to be moved, I don't know that I'm there yet. Commissioners, would you agree that may be a drastic step at this juncture?
Yeah, it seems a little, I think that might be a little drastic at this juncture. Yeah.
Yeah, I agree.
Okay. I would say that we've all had our talking points here. Would everybody agree?
Yep. So do we have to vote to officially non-select these people still, or are we going to table that? What do we have to do?
You would need to vote to non-select them so that our office can send notification that they've been non-selected, and that they can submit appeals to the commission should they choose to.
Okay.
That's fine. Let's, I make the motion that we vote to approve the non-selects.
Second.
I agree.
Passed and carried. Bear with me here. With that, I hold on 1 second, please. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. With that, I make the motion. Oh, wait, you have any old business?
No.
No.
Any new business?
No.
We did that. We
this
abolished.
was our new business.
That was the new
okay.
business.
That's fine. I missed that. I'm sorry. So I make the motion we adjourn.
I so move.
Yes.
Passed and carried. Next meeting will be Wednesday, March 31st, 2021. Thank you all for
Thank you.